Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm glad you can make it. A couple weeks ago, we posted a video on how to make South African biltong. And if you haven't seen that video yet, I'm going to put a link to that video up here. Be sure to check it out after this video. Incredibly easy recipe for this amazing South African dry cured piece of meat. And in the comment section of that video, we were asked repeatedly to demonstrate how to build a biltong box. And although there are lots of different ways to build a biltong box, the general concept of how one works is usually the same. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to build the easiest, most cost-effective, relatively sturdy biltong box using items that you probably already have around your house. And the best part about it is you don't need to be an electrician and you don't need to be a carpenter in order to build this box. Now, if you do happen to have a really great workshop, or if you're a certified electrician, you can certainly make this biltong box a whole lot fancier using the same concepts that we talk about in this video. So without further ado, let me show you how it's done.
All right, let's build a biltong box. So for this build, we're just going to be using a plastic storage container. And you do want to make sure that your container is large enough to handle your meat. This one has a depth of 13 inches from the bottom to the top, which should be deep enough so that when I hang my biltong or my sausages, it won't interfere with anything at the bottom. All right, so let's go ahead and make our holes. The first series of holes will be for our rods. I'm using 12mm rods, which is a little on the big side, but they totally work. If you can get your hands on 6mm rods, that'd be great. And notice the spacing. The very center is going to have a slightly wider gap than the rest of them. And the reason being is because we're going to be placing a light bulb here at the bottom, and we don't want any, biltong or juices or anything dripping on that light. And the distance between the rods where we're going to hang our biltong is about 9 centimeters, or roughly 3.5 inches. All right, so let's go ahead and drill our holes. And just a little tip, if you could place a piece of wood under the plastic bin while you're drilling, it's going to make your holes come out a lot cleaner and reduce the chance of that plastic cracking. Trust me on this one. All right, so our rod holes have been drilled, and now it's time to make our holes at the bottom. And this is where fresh air is going to come into our box. I made my markings 2.5 inches apart and 1 inch off the bottom, but we certainly don't need that many holes. I think I'm just going to put 4 1-inch holes on either side. If you want to do a larger hole, let's say 2.5 inch, 3-inch holes, you could do 2 of those, 1 on either side, and that would be sufficient as well. The idea here is just to have fresh air coming in. All right, so we're going to make our 1-inch holes, and if you're not using a piece of wood, you just want to press very, very gently, nice and easy, and allow that drill bit to do the work. Otherwise, you could very easily crack the plastic. All right, our fresh air holes have been drilled. We've got 4 holes on both sides, so a total of 8 holes, and now it's time to drill the hole for our light bulb. Our light bulb assembly is simply a light socket with a plug attachment at the end. I wanted this to be incredibly easy, so all we're going to need is a hole for our light socket. And the hole that I drilled here isn't quite big enough, so I'm just going to use a drill bit to widen that hole and make it just large enough to where my light socket can fit right on in there. And that's what we're looking for. The light socket I'm going to be using requires no electrical experience. I mean, it's literally plug and play. We screw our light in there and then we plug it into an extension cord. And this is what it should look like once we're done. And if you want information on any of the things that I'm using, check out the description box. I've got links for all that stuff in there. All right, so all of our holes are drilled. I'm going to clean up any burrs that were formed with some sandpaper. You could use an X-Acto knife. It really doesn't matter too much. I just want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And once we get that finished, it's time to go ahead and assemble our light. And all I've got is an extension cord and a light socket. And notice that my extension cord has a plug on the front and the back. And you'll see why I like that option here in a minute. But this is what that's going to look like. This is going to give us light inside of our box. And we want to affix this assembly to the box itself. We don't want it moving around. So I'm just going to put a little adhesive sealant onto the extension cord, and then whenever I get it set up in place, we're going to plug everything together and then go ahead and seal it all off, on the inside and the outside with a little more adhesive. And the only thing I didn't like about this setup right here was that the cable was pointing upwards. That's going to put unnecessary tension on the plug. So I ended up taking all that adhesive off, turning the cable to where it pointed downwards, and then applied more adhesive. And you'll see the end result of that here in a second. As far as your holes go, you do want to protect those with a little mosquito netting, and I'm just using a hot glue gun to stick that on there. I'm also using the tip of the hot glue gun to help spread out that glue. This glue is incredibly sticky, And because that tip is already hot, it helps spread it out pretty easily. And once you have your holes covered up, the box portion of this build is complete. I mean, very simple. So just remember, holes at the bottom to allow fresh air to come in, and a hole for your light, and you're good to go. All right, so our box is done. Let's set that to the side, allow that adhesive to cure and harden up, and let's work on our lid. As far as the lid goes, technically all we need are a couple of holes for that hot air that's rising to vent out. And this is totally optional. If you want to add a computer fan, this is going to speed up the process. This is going to help draw some of that air out as well. But like I said, totally optional. You could still make great biltong without it. It'll just take a little bit longer. I am going to put a computer fan, and as you can see right here, I'm going to put that fan right in the middle. That's just going to increase the circulation inside of our box. Aside from the fan, I'm going to drill a couple 1-inch holes on the right and on the left. If you're using a bigger drill bit, then you won't need as many holes. You can make 2 larger holes on the right and the left. You just want to make sure that you have some place to vent that hot air that's being risen inside your box. So let's go ahead and place our lid on a piece of wood, drill our holes, and this is what that's going to look like. So if you're not going to be using a computer fan, then as far as holes go, your lid is finished. All you need to do is put some mosquito netting, and you are done with your biltong box. But because I am going to be using a computer fan, we're just going to drill a couple small holes to attach that computer fan to the lid. I mean, technically, I guess I could hot glue it as well, which would work perfect, but I often use that computer fan for other projects, so I want to be able to remove it from time to time. So let me go ahead and put my computer fan onto the box, and if you are going to use a computer fan, you want to pay attention to the directional flow of the air. There should be some sort of marking that gives you some indication as to where the air is flowing. And in this case, we want it to flow up because we're going to be drawing air out of the box. And so there we go. Very simple. I'm just going to go ahead and tighten up those screws, and my fan is on, my mosquito netting is on, and my lid is done. My biltong box is officially finished. So let me show you what it looks like once we put it all together. Our adhesive is cured. Notice that my cable is now pointing downwards. I had to change that from earlier. This is just going to put a lot less tension on that plug. Everything is nice and firm in its place. So let's go ahead and plug in our light. And for the light, we're going to be using a 40-watt incandescent appliance light. All right, so we don't want it too hot. 40 watt is about the maximum, and it has to be incandescent. It needs to produce a little bit of heat. So LED just won't work for this project. And I'll put a link in the description box below if you just want an easy place to get a 40 watt incandescent light. I'm going to go ahead and screw that in there. And to make cleanup easier, when we hang our biltong, I'm going to line the bottom with foil and some paper towels. Now, you don't have to do this, but it does make cleanup easier, especially when your biltong is dripping. So we're going to go ahead and finish this box up by adding our rods, and your biltong box is finished. Our rods are nice and sturdy. We've got an extra wide gap in the middle, so our light is undisturbed. And it's time to go ahead and put the lid on. And let me show you what I like to do with the cable for the fan. I'm just going to wrap it a couple times around the fan just to kind of tuck it away a little bit. And the cable itself, I'm going to plug into the extension cord that is part of the light, which is why I like that dual-sided plug. And that's what that's going to look like. So when we turn our biltong box on, both the light and the fan are going to come on, just like this. And there we have it. That's how to build a very simple box used for drying biltong, for dried sausages like the Cantonese lapchung or the South African doreves. You could also use this to ferment your salami. All right, so a lot of different options for this box. The size of this box can hold about 10 pounds of raw biltong, which will produce anywhere between 3 to 4 pounds of dried biltong, depending on how dry you like it. So this is going to stay on our kitchen counter running 24 hours a day. And depending on your personal preference of dryness, you can start testing this at day 3. We're looking for a drier biltong, so we're going to let this dry for 5 days, and then we're going to come back and give it a little taste and see how our box did.
Now it's time to test our Biltong made in our brand new Biltong box. And the design for this box, very simple. Fresh air comes in from the bottom, the light bulb warms that air up, and as the hot air rises, it gets vented through the top. If you choose to put a computer fan, your Biltong will be ready that much faster. And depending on your personal preference of dryness, you could start tasting this at day 3 and stop whenever you feel like it's perfect. So let's go ahead and give this a taste. Delicious. It's chewy and tender at the exact same time. The meat has had an opportunity to age for several days, so it's got a really nice enhanced beefy flavor, and the spices, the coriander and the black pepper just come through so beautifully. At the end of this video, I'll have a link for a full-blown recipe on how to make this absolutely incredible Biltong. All right, everybody, that's all I got for you today. If you have any questions on how to build a Biltong box, leave them in the comment section below, and be sure to check the description box because I'm going to put a link to my website where we'll go into more detail about this particular project. But I don't want you to get hung up on the details. What I want you to take away from this build is the overall concept of how a Biltong box works, because your build may look slightly different than mine. Just remember, fresh air comes in from the bottom and the warm air gets vented out through the top. It's just as simple as that. If you like this video or got anything out of it, a great big thumbs up is always appreciated. And if you are new to our channel, we'd like to say welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because we post new videos each week, and I don't want you to miss a single one. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.